Crash landing. The sleek interstellar vessel Nebula Seeker cut through the vast emptiness of space, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Inside the ship's bridge, Alex Morrison, a human engineer with a reputation for solving impossible problems, stood before a holographic display. Her dark hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her green eyes darted across streams of data. "Nora, are you seeing these energy fluctuations?" Alex called out, her brow furrowed in concentration. From the other side of the bridge, a tall, willowy figure glided over. Nora, a Zephyrian scientist, moved with an otherworldly grace. Her iridescent skin shimmered with patterns that seemed to shift with her mood, and her large, almond-shaped eyes blinked vertically as she examined the display. "Indeed, Alex. These readings are troubling," Nora replied, her melodic voice tinged with concern. "They don't match any known phenomena in our database." The Nebula Seeker, a joint human-Zephyrian venture, was on a mission to explore uncharted regions of the galaxy. Alex and Nora, despite their different backgrounds, had formed an effective partnership over the months of their journey, each bringing unique skills and perspectives to their shared goal of scientific discovery. Suddenly, a violent shudder rocked the ship. Alarms blared, and red warning lights bathed the bridge in an ominous glow. "What the hell?" Alex exclaimed, her fingers flying over the control panel. "We're losing power to the main engines." Nora's skin pulsed with Patton's alarm. "The navigation system is failing. We're being pulled into the gravitational field of an uncharted planet." The ship groaned and creaked as it plummeted toward the looming planet below. Through the viewscreen, Alex could see a world of deep purples and blues, with swirling storms and vast oceans. It might have been beautiful if it wasn't about to become their doom. "Brace for impact," Alex shouted, strapping herself into the pilot's seat. Nora secured herself in the adjacent chair, her long fingers wrapping tightly around the armrests. The Nebula Seeker screamed through the planet's atmosphere, its heat shields glowing white-hot. Alex fought with the controls, trying to stabilize their descent, but the ship was barely responding. They burst through a layer of thick, violet clouds, revealing a landscape of towering crystalline formations and deep canyons. "There." Nora pointed to a relatively flat expanse. "Aim for that clearing." Alex gritted her teeth, using every ounce of her skill to guide the failing ship. The ground rushed up to meet them, and with a deafening crash, the Nebula Seeker slammed into the alien soil. Metal twisted and shattered, and a cloud of purple dust billowed around them. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, with a groan, Alex unstrapped herself from her seat. "Nora, are you all right?" The Zephyrian moved slowly, her skin cycling through patterns of pain and disorientation. I believe I am intact. And you, Alex?" "A bit battered, but I'll live," Alex replied, wincing as she stood. "We need to assess the damage and secure the ship." Together, they made their way through the wreckage of the Nebula Seeker. Emergency lights flickered, casting eerie shadows. As they reached the airlock, Alex hesitated. "We don't know if the atmosphere is breathable," she said, reaching for an emergency suit. Nora closed her eyes, concentrating. "I'm detecting trace elements similar to those in Earth's atmosphere, but there are unknown compounds as well. We should proceed with caution." Donning their protective suits, Alex and Nora stepped out onto the alien world. The landscape that greeted them was both beautiful and terrifying. Crystalline structures jutted from the ground like enormous, faceted teeth. The sky was a deep indigo, with 2 moons visible even in the daytime. Strange, bioluminescent plants dotted the landscape, pulsing with an inner light. "It's incredible," Alex breathed, momentarily forgetting their dire situation. Nora nodded, her scientific curiosity evident in her wide eyes. "Indeed, but we must focus on survival. Our ship is severely damaged, and we are far from any known civilizations." Alex snapped back to reality, her engineer's mind already cataloging the tasks ahead. "Right. We need to salvage what we can, set up a shelter, and try to get our communications array working. As they began to work, the reality of their situation sank in. They were stranded on an unknown planet with no immediate hope of rescue. Their survival would depend on their ability to adapt, to work together, and to unlock the secrets of this alien world. Hours passed as Alex and Nira salvaged equipment from the wreckage. They managed to set up a makeshift shelter using parts of the ship's hull and emergency supplies. As the alien sun began to set, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape, they sat outside their shelter, watching the unfamiliar stars appear in the indigo sky. "What do you think our chances are?" Alex asked, her voice quiet in the alien twilight. Nara was silent for a moment, her skin pulsing with thoughtful patterns. "Statistically speaking, our situation is challenging. But I have observed that humans have a remarkable capacity for overcoming impossible odds, and Zephyrians are known for their adaptability." Alex couldn't help but smile. "So, you're saying there's hope?" "There is always hope, Alex," Nora replied, her vertical eyelids blinking slowly. "And we have something that statistics cannot quantify: each other." As the alien night deepened around them, Alex felt a mixture of fear and determination. They were facing an unknown world, filled with potential dangers and wonders. But Nero was right, they weren't alone. Together, a human engineer and a Zephyrian scientist would face whatever challenges this planet had to offer. The next morning brought new challenges and discoveries. As Alex worked on repairing the ship's systems, Nero began cataloging the alien flora and fauna around them. The planet, which they decided to call Novus, seemed to pulse with an energy unlike anything they had encountered before. "Alex, come look at this," Nero called out, her voice filled with excitement. Alex set down her tools and joined Nira at the edge of a crystalline formation. The Zephyrian was pointing at what looked like a cluster of glowing, pulsating orbs. "These appear to be some sort of energy-storing life form," Nora explained, her skin shimmering with patterns of scientific curiosity. "They might be the key to powering our communications array." As they studied the strange orbs, a low rumble echoed across the landscape. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble. "Earthquake?" Alex asked, her heart racing. Naira's patterns shifted to alarm. "No, look." In the distance, one of the massive crystalline structures was moving, unfolding like some gigantic geometric flower. As it rose, they could see that it wasn't a structure at all, but an enormous silicon-based life form. Alex and Nira stood in awe, watching as the creature slowly lumbered across the horizon. Their situation was dire, but at that moment, they both felt the thrill of discovery that had led them to explore the stars in the first place. "Well," Alex said, a hint of nervous laughter in her voice, "I guess we're not in Kansas anymore." Nara tilted her head, confused by the reference but understanding the sentiment. "Indeed, Alex. Our adventure on Novus has only just begun." As the alien sun climbed higher in the indigo sky, Alex and Nero returned to their tasks with renewed determination. They were stranded, yes, but they were also explorers standing on the threshold of a new world. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, human and Zephyrian united in the greatest adventure of their lives. Alien wilderness. As days turned into weeks on Novus, Alex and Nira settled into a routine of survival and exploration. Each dawn brought new challenges and discoveries in this alien wilderness they now called home. Alex wiped sweat from her brow as she tinkered with a makeshift water purification system. The planet's water was tainted with unfamiliar minerals, requiring careful filtration. "You know," she called out to Nora, who was examining a patch of bioluminescent moss nearby, "I never thought I'd be grateful for those survival training courses back at the academy." Naira's skin rippled with amusement. "Indeed, though I doubt your instructors envisioned you using their techniques on a world like this." Their shelter had evolved from the initial emergency setup. Using salvaged materials from the Nebula Seeker and native resources, they had constructed a more permanent dwelling. It was a curious blend of human ingenuity and Zephyrian design, nestled between two towering crystal formations that provided some protection from the planet's frequent electromagnetic storms. As the alien sun reached its zenith, casting a purple-tinged light across the landscape, Alex and Neera set out on their daily exploration. They had established a perimeter around their crash site, gradually expanding it as they grew more familiar with the terrain. "Look at this," Neera said, crouching near a cluster of what appeared to be plants. Their leaves were translucent, showing complex networks of glowing veins. These seemed to be photosynthesizing, but they're also collecting ambient electromagnetic energy. Alex knelt beside her, marveling at the alien flora. "Amazing. Do you think we could use something like this to boost our power systems?" Before Neera could respond, a low, rumbling growl echoed through the air. Both of them froze, slowly turning towards the source of the sound. Emerging from behind a crystalline outcropping was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was roughly the size of an earth tiger, but its body seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. 6 eyes, glowing with an inner light, fixed upon them with predatory intent. "Don't move," Alex whispered, her heart pounding. She slowly reached for the makeshift stun weapon at her belt, a jury-rigged device she had assembled from ship components. Naira's skin had gone pale, her patterns pulsing rapidly in fear. "It's blocking our path back to the shelter," she murmured. The creature took a step forward, its form rippling as it moved. Alex's mind raced, trying to find a solution. Then an idea struck her. "Nora," she said, keeping her voice low and calm, "remember those energy-storing orbs we found last week?" Understanding dawned in Nora's eyes. With a barely perceptible nod, she began to slowly reach into her pack. The predator tensed, preparing to pounce. In that instant, Nora pulled out one of the glowing orbs and threw it to the ground between them and the creature. Alex quickly aimed her stun weapon at the orb and fired. The result was spectacular. The orb exploded in a brilliant flash of light and a shockwave of electromagnetic energy. The liquid metal predator recoiled, its form destabilizing momentarily before it turned and fled, disappearing into the alien underbrush. For a moment, Alex and Neera stood in stunned silence. Then, almost simultaneously, they burst into laughter, a release of tension and a celebration of their narrow escape. "Quick thinking," Nora said, her skin now shimmering with patterns of relief and admiration. Alex grinned, holstering her weapon. "Couldn't have done it without your perfect throw. Come on, let's head back. I think we've had enough excitement for one day." As they made their way back to their shelter, they remained vigilant, now acutely aware of the hidden dangers lurking in the alien wilderness. The encounter had shaken them, but it had also strengthened their resolve and their bond. Back at their base, as the alien sun began to set, painting the sky in stunning hues of deep purple and blue, Alex and Neera sat outside their shelter, discussing the day's events. "We need to be better prepared," Alex said, sketching out designs for improved weapons and defensive measures. "That creature caught us off guard. We can't let that happen again." Nora nodded, her skin pulsing with thoughtful patterns. "Agreed, but we must also remember that we are the intruders here. This world has its own balance, its own ecosystems. We must learn to coexist, not just defend ourselves." Alex paused in her sketching, considering Naira's words. "You're right. We're explorers, not conquerors. Maybe we can find a way to communicate with some of the life forms here, or at least understand them better." As night fell, bringing with it a spectacular display of unfamiliar constellations, Alex and Neera continued to plan and theorize. They discussed ways to improve their shelter, to create better tools, and to unlock the secrets of Novus's unique ecology. "You know," Alex said, looking up at the alien sky, "despite all the dangers and challenges, there's a part of me that's thrilled to be here. We're seeing things no human or Zephyrian has ever seen before." Naira's skin glowed softly in the darkness, her patterns reflecting Alex's sense of wonder. "I feel the same way. Our situation is perilous, but the scientific discoveries we're making are unprecedented. If we can find a way to communicate our findings to our people." Her voice trailed off, and Alex knew they were both thinking the same thing. Their efforts to repair the ship's long-range communication systems had so far been unsuccessful. They were still, for all intents and purposes, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. "We'll find a way," Alex said with determination. "Between your scientific knowledge and my engineering skills, we'll crack this planet's secrets. And when we do, we'll have one hell of a story to tell." As they retired to their shelter for the night, both Alex and Neera felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yes, they were stranded on an alien world, facing dangers they could scarcely comprehend. But they were also on the adventure of a lifetime, pushing the boundaries of human and Zephyrian knowledge. In the quiet of the alien night, as strange melodic calls echoed in the distance and bioluminescent life forms cast a soft glow over the landscape, Alex and Neera drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and new wonders. And together, they were ready to face whatever Novus had in store for them. The alien wilderness of Novus was harsh, and they ran, hearts pounding, as the alien predators gave chase. The creatures moved with unnatural speed, their forms rippling and flowing over the crystalline terrain with ease. Just as they reached the entrance to their shelter, one of the creatures lunged, its form elongating impossibly. Alex felt a searing pain as it grazed her leg, tearing through her suit. Nara reacted instantly, grabbing one of their stun weapons and firing at the creature. The electromagnetic pulse caused it to recoil, its form destabilizing momentarily. It was enough time for them to seal the shelter door. Inside, they could hear the creatures prowling, their strange, liquid bodies making odd slithering sounds against the outer walls. "Let me see your leg," Nara said, her voice calm but urgent. Alex winced as she examined the wound. It wasn't deep, but the edges of the cut seemed to shimmer oddly. "What do you think? Some kind of venom?" Nara's eyes narrowed as she studied the injury. Possibly, but it could also be a reaction to the creature's unique physiology. "We need to clean it thoroughly and monitor for any unusual symptoms." As Neera tended to Alex's wound, using their limited medical supplies and some of the medicinal plants they had discovered, Alex's mind raced. "You know," she said, partly to distract herself from the pain, "I think I know what went wrong with the communication array." Nara looked up, her skin pulsing with surprise. "You're thinking about that now?" Alex nodded, a determined glint in her eye. "The energy surge attracted those creatures, right? What if we could use that? Create a controlled surge to draw them away while we transmit." "It's risky," Nara said, finishing the bandage. "But it could work. We'd need to set up a separate device, something that could generate a similar energy signature." Their discussion was interrupted by a strange, melodic humming from outside. The sounds of the predator's movements ceased. Cautiously, they approached one of the small viewing ports in their shelter. What they saw left them speechless. A new creature had appeared. It was tall, almost humanoid, but its body seemed to be composed of the same crystalline material that made up much of the planet's landscape. It stood before the pack of predators, emitting that strange melodic hum. To Alex and Neera's amazement, the predators backed away, their liquid forms undulating in what almost looked like deference. "Are you seeing this?" Alex whispered, all evident in her voice. Neera's skin shimmered with excitement. A sentient species, one that can communicate with and possibly control other life forms. As they watched, the crystal being turned towards their shelter. Though it had no discernible eyes, both Alex and Neera felt as if it were looking right at them. It raised a crystalline arm, pointing at their door. Alex and Neera exchanged glances. This was a pivotal moment, they both realized. Their actions now could determine not just their survival, but the future of human and Zephyrian contact with an entirely new intelligent species. "We should go out there," Alex said, her voice filled with a mix of fear and excitement. Nora nodded, her skin pulsing with agreement. "Yes, but we must be cautious. We don't know its intentions. Slowly, carefully, they opened the door of their shelter. The crystal being stood motionless, its arms still outstretched. The predators had retreated to the edges of the clearing, watching silently. As Alex and Nira stepped out into the alien sunlight, the crystal being began to hum again. This time the sound seemed to resonate within them, carrying meanings beyond mere words. Suddenly, Alex gasped. Images and sensations flooded her mind, the history of this planet, the complex ecosystem, the delicate balance of energies that sustained all life here. From Nira's expression, she was experiencing the same thing. "It's communicating with us," Nira said, her voice filled with wonder. "Sharing knowledge." As the flood of information subsided, Alex and Nira found themselves looking at their surroundings with new eyes. The crystal being lowered its arm, and the humming ceased. In that moment of profound connection, Alex realized that their quest to communicate with home had led them to an even greater discovery. They had made first contact with an alien intelligence, one that held secrets that could revolutionize their understanding of the universe. As the alien sun began to set, painting the crystalline landscape in hues of deep purple and blue, Alex and Nira knew that their adventure on Novus was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. The communication breakthrough they had sought had come in a form they never expected, and with it came new questions, new challenges, and the promise of wonders yet to be discovered. Ancient ruins. The days following their encounter with the crystalline being were a whirlwind of discovery and adaptation. Alex and Nira found themselves with a new ally in their struggle for survival and understanding on Novus. The being, which they had taken to calling Crystal for simplicity's sake, seemed intent on guiding them through the alien wilderness. One morning, as the twin moons of Novus hung low on the horizon, Crystal appeared at their shelter, its crystalline form refracting the early light into a dazzling display of colors. It gestured for them to follow, its movements fluid despite its seemingly rigid structure. "I guess we're going on a field trip," Alex said, grabbing her pack, a newly improved stun weapon. Nora nodded, her skin pulsing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Indeed, I wonder what it wants to show us." They followed Crystal through the alien landscape, marveling at how the local wildlife seemed to give it a wide berth. Even the liquid metal predators that had been such a threat before now slunk away at Crystal's approach. After several hours of trekking through increasingly rugged terrain, they crested a hill and stopped short, awestruck by the sight before them. Sprawling across the valley below were the unmistakable remnants of an ancient city. Towering spires of crystal and metal reached toward the sky, their once smooth surfaces now pitted and worn by time. Vast places were overgrown with the strange, bioluminescent vegetation of Novus, creating a mesmerizing blend of artificial structure and wild nature. "My God," Alex breathed, her eyes wide. "An entire civilization." Nira's skin shimmered with patterns of scientific excitement. "This is unprecedented. The archaeological significance alone." Crystal hummed softly, the sound resonating in their minds with impressions of great age, of rise and fall, of knowledge lost and waiting to be rediscovered. As they descended into the ruins, Alex and Nira felt as if they were walking through a dream. Every step brought new wonders and puzzles. They passed by what seemed to be the remains of advanced machinery, its purpose now a mystery. Walls were adorned with intricate patterns that Nira suspected might be a form of written language. "Look at this," Alex called out, crouching next to a partially buried object. As she brushed away the accumulated dirt of centuries, a soft glow emanated from the device. "It's still active." Nira joined her, her eyes narrowing as she studied the artifact. "Remarkable. It appears to be drawing power from the ambient energy of the planet itself. If we could understand this technology." Crystal stood nearby, its crystalline form pulsing gently. As Alex and Nira examined the ancient device, they felt another wave of information wash over them. Images of the city in its prime flashed through their minds, a thriving metropolis of beings, similar to Crystal, their technology in perfect harmony with the natural energies of Novus. "They were so advanced," Alex murmured, her voice filled with awe. "What happened to them?" The answer came in another series of mental impressions, a great cataclysm, a shift in the planet's core that disrupted the delicate balance of energies. The civilization, so dependent on these energies, collapsed. Only a few, like Crystal, managed to adapt and survive in a more primitive state. As they delved deeper into the ruins, Alex and Nira began to piece together the story of this lost civilization. They discovered chambers filled with dormant machinery, libraries of crystal shards that seemed to contain vast stores of information, and even what appeared to be a massive power core at the heart of the city. "Nira," Alex said, her voice tight with excitement, "if we could reactivate some of this technology, we might be able to boost our communication array enough to reach out to our people." Nira's skin pulsed with cautious optimism. "It's possible, but we must be careful. We don't fully understand this technology, and the consequences of misusing it could be dire." As if in response to their discussion, Crystal led them to a circular chamber deep within the ruins. At its center stood a towering pillar of pulsing energy, connected to various conduits that spread out like the roots of a tree. Crystal hummed, and in their minds, Alex and Nira saw a vision of this chamber as it once was, the heart of the city's power distribution network, channeling the natural energies of Novus to fuel their advanced civilization. "This is it," Alex said, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of discovery. "If we can interface our technology with this, we might just have our ticket home." But as they approached the central pillar, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. Dust and small fragments of crystal rained down from the ceiling. Crystal's humming took on an urgent tone. "What's happening?" Nira called out, her skin flashing with patterns of alarm. Before Alex could respond, a deafening roar filled the chamber. The energy pillar flared blindingly bright, and arcs of power began to leap from it to the surrounding walls. "It's overloading," Alex shouted over the noise. "The system must have been dormant for too long. Our presence might have triggered some kind of failsafe." Crystal's humming became more intense, filling their minds with a sense of imminent danger. Images flashed rapidly, the cataclysm that destroyed the ancient civilization, the delicate balance of energies, the potential for devastation if the system fully reactivated in its unstable state. "We need to shut it down," Nira said, her voice filled with determination. "If we don't, it could trigger a planetary catastrophe." Alex nodded, her mind racing. "Agreed. But how? We barely understand this technology." As the chamber shook around them, debris falling from the crumbling ceiling, Alex and Nira faced their greatest challenge yet. They had uncovered the remnants of an ancient, advanced civilization, but in doing so, they may have inadvertently set in motion events that could destroy the very planet they had been striving to understand and survive on. With time running out and the fate of Novus hanging in the balance, they knew they had to act fast. The knowledge gifted to them by Crystal, their human ingenuity, and Zephyrian analytical skills would be put to the ultimate test. As another violent tremor shook the chamber, Alex and Nira exchanged a look of determination. Whatever came next, they would face it together, two beings from different worlds united in their quest for survival and understanding in this alien wilderness. The ancient ruins, once a source of wonder and hope, had become a ticking time bomb, and they were the only ones who could defuse it. Planetary peril. The ancient chamber shuddered around them, the air thick with dust and crackling with uncontrolled energy. Alex's mind raced, analyzing the complex system before them with every ounce of her engineering expertise. "Nira," she shouted over the deafening roar of the overloading power core. "We need to divert the energy flow. If we can't shut it down, maybe we can spread it out." Nira's skin pulsed with rapid patterns of calculation and analysis. "Agreed. The conduits leading out of this chamber, if we can reactivate them, they might act as a release valve for the excess energy." They sprang into action, moving with the coordinated efficiency of two beings who had learned to work as one. Alex dashed to a control panel near the base of the energy pillar, her fingers flying over the alien symbols as she attempted to decipher its function. Nora, meanwhile, used her Zephyrian ability to sense energy fields to trace the dormant conduits throughout the chamber. Crystal hovered nearby, its crystalline form vibrating with tension. It projected a series of images into their minds, schematics of the city's power distribution network, overlaid with warnings of critical failure points. "There," Nira called out, pointing to a cluster of inactive nodes along the chamber wall. "Those are the primary distribution nodes. If we can reactivate them." "On it," Alex interrupted, already rewiring the ancient control panel. She pulled components from her pack, jury-reading a connection between their own technology and the alien system. "I just hope this works with their tech." Another violent tremor shook the chamber. A large section of the ceiling collapsed, narrowly missing them. Crystal moved with surprising speed, its form elongating to shield them from the falling debris. "Thanks," Alex gasped, shooting a grateful look at that alien ally. She turned back to her work, sweat beading on her forehead as she made the final connections. "Okay, here goes nothing." She activated the makeshift interface. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low hum that quickly rose to a roar, the distribution nodes flickered to life. Energy began to flow from the overloading central pillar, spreading out through the reactivated conduits. "It's working," Nura exclaimed, her skin shimmering with cautious optimism. "The energy levels in the central core are dropping." But their relief was short-lived. As the energy spread through the ancient network, long-dormant systems throughout the ruined city began to activate. The ground trembled with increasing intensity, and in the distance, they heard the sound of massive structures shifting and groaning. Crystal's humming took on an urgent tone. In their minds, they saw a vision of the entire planet, its delicate energy balance thrown into chaos by the sudden reactivation of the ancient systems. "Oh no," Alex breathed, the color draining from her face. "We didn't stop the overload. We just spread it to the entire planet." Naira's skin paled, her patterns shifting to reflect dawning horror. "We've triggered a planetary scale event. If we don't find a way to stabilize it." She didn't need to finish the thought. They both knew what was at stake, not just their own survival, but the fate of an entire world. As if to underscore the gravity of their situation, a massive quake rocked the chamber. Cracks spread across the floor, and the air itself seemed to ripple with waves of uncontrolled energy. "We need to get to higher ground," Alex shouted, grabbing their essential gear. "We can't do anything more from here." They raced out of the chamber, Crystal gliding ahead to guide them through the collapsing ruins. As they emerged from the ancient city, they were met with a scene of breathtaking terror. The landscape of Novus was transforming before their eyes. Massive crystal formations erupted from the ground, while others crumbled to dust. The twin moons seemed to loom larger in the sky, their orbits visibly disturbed by the planet's convulsions. The air was filled with the panicked cries of alien wildlife fleeing the chaos. They made their way to a high ridge overlooking the valley, watching in awe and horror as the world around them teetered on the brink of destruction. "There has to be something we can do," Alex said, her voice hoarse but determined. "We caused this. We have to find a way to fix it." Nara nodded, her scientific mind already racing through possibilities. The planet's core, it's the source of the energy imbalance. If we could find a way to reach it, to stabilize it somehow. Crystal hummed, projecting a series of rapid images into their minds. They saw a network of underground caverns, a path that led deep into the heart of Novus, and at the end of that path, a chamber that pulsed with the planet's lifeblood. "It's showing us the way," Alex realized. "But how can we possibly affect something on that scale? We're just two beings with limited resources." Naira's skin shimmed with a pattern that Alex had come to recognize as her eureka moment. "Our ship, the Nebula Seeker's core containment unit. If we could adapt it, use it in conjunction with the planet's natural energy flows, we might be able to create a stabilizing field," Alex finished, hope rekindling in her eyes. "Nira, you're a genius." But as another quake shook the ground beneath them, sending fissures spreading across the landscape, they knew that their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. They had to act fast or Novus, and they, along with it, would be torn apart by the very energies that had once sustained a great civilization. With Crystal as their guide, Alex and Nira began their desperate race against time. They had to retrieve the core from their crashed ship, navigate the treacherous, ever-changing landscape, and somehow make their way to the planet's core. And even if they succeeded in all of that, there was no guarantee their plan would work. As they set off, the twin moons of Novus loomed ominously overhead, their distorted orbits a constant reminder of the cosmic scale of the disaster they had unwittingly set in motion. The fate of an entire world now rested in their hands, a human engineer and a Zephyrian scientist, united in their determination to right their wrong and save their adopted home. The greatest challenge of their lives lay ahead, and failure was not an option. Novus, and all the wonders and mysteries it held, depended on them.